Hosseini, CEO and founder of SenRa. In this video today, I will walk you through the administrative section of our analytics platform, Ginjer. I hope this video will demonstrate the strength and power of the tool and also demonstrate how easy it is to configure your own devices, your own solutions, invite users to your account, and even control license distributions amongst multiple projects. So let's get started. When you first log in to Ginjer, when you create an account, you'll automatically be an administrator of your account. You would be able to see the account if you click on the account section down here. It'll also let you know if you are an admin or not of that account by seeing this label. Admins will be the only ones that will be able to do all of the configuration of the account. Basically, prior to inviting users to start using the projects that you set up, an administrator will need to go through and do some initial configuration and setup, which will then enable the users and the data streaming and that kind of stuff. So the way to do that to start with is in the users section. When you're ready to invite people to your account, you can simply click on invite users, enter in their email address. You can do more than one email address if you'd like, and then click invite users. The screen will update with the accounts that you've invited, and as soon as they receive the email in their inbox and accept the invitation, you will then notice that they're active in this screen. Every user that's created has the ability to become an admin of this account. Simply an initial admin would need to assign others the admin rights by simply turning on the toggle here, and it will change from active normal user to an admin, or by deactivating you can then remove those admin permissions. Every user in the system that is a non-admin can have one or more projects assigned to them. Simply click on the assign new projects, and you'll be able to see a list of projects after they've been created, and you can assign that user to one or many projects. Within each project, there are two types of roles: a project manager and a normal user. This signifies a normal user permissions. By enabling that toggle, you'll see it changes to project manager. The difference between the user permissions of a normal user and a project manager is that normal users really have view rights to projects, minus the ability to create their own analytical widgets. And the project manager has the ability to add devices, clusters, and other things at the project level. So when you're done setting those assignments, you just click Save, and it will be added here. You'll notice a user that is a project manager will have a PM role. One that may not have a project manager permissions to a project would show as a normal user. And for the normal users, you will also have to assign clusters. So if you think about a parking project and you've got 30 parking lots that you're managing, maybe you have a user that is responsible for managing one parking lot. Well, when you go into the system and you select that user, you can remove the clusters that you don't want that person to see, and only assign them access to the cluster that they're responsible for. and in this scenario it would be a parking lot. You can also click on this drop-down list and add more than one cluster to a user if they're managing more than one project or cluster within that project. After you've done all your assignments, you click Save, and now the normal user will have access to data in those clusters within that project. So what we've tried to do here is allow an administrator to create multiple projects, assign users to only see data at the project level, as well as the cluster level. This is a really good situation for someone that wants to potentially play a system integrator role for a smart city, and they want to use Ginjer as their platform for multiple smart city projects they're working on. By assigning their customers to the projects for their smart city, then you can divide what is viewed by those users logging in. So for example, Smart City A could not see Smart City B's data, and Smart City B could not see Smart City A's data. It's a really powerful tool to manage your user assignments, project assignments, and cluster assignments. We also have the ability to assign device limitations at the project level for license distribution methods. So example, if you buy 100 device licenses from SenRa, you can divide that by 10 to 10 different projects if each of those are your customers by simply dragging and dropping dragging the slide bar to the appropriate device limit that you'd like this project to have device access to. So there's a device distribution, license distribution mechanism as well that we've considered as part of a system integrator that would like to use this system. So before you start doing all those user assignments and invitations, you're actually going to want to go and do some more technical configuration things. In the setup section, this is where an administrator can add their own hardware. They can create their own solutions. If they're developing third-party mobile applications, they can integrate that into this section. This is also where you'll need to integrate your private or public network that you're using with Ginjer so that the data communication from the device can stream properly to the platform, and as well as send data from the platform to the device on downlink commands. What you'll notice here is we've already done a lot of work with Ginjer where we've created pre-configured devices. So if you were to have bought any of these devices with a green check mark, then they'll automatically start sending data once you've done all the network setup. You can add your own devices if you see something that's not here. As you can see, I created a My Device here by just clicking on the Add Device button. You populate the name, model number, manufacturer, tags, and then once it's added, you can start doing configuration to the device. Inside the device, this is where you would say this device can use a certain mobile app that you've configured. Device attributes is where you would create certain virtual peripheral information for Ginjer to be able to make sense of the data that's coming in. A good example would be a parking sensor, for example. If you wanted to install a parking sensor in an illegal parking lot space, the parking sensor doesn't know that you're installing it in a normal parking spot or in an illegal parking spot. It just knows that a vehicle has driven over the sensor, it has detected presence of the vehicle, and it says that there's a vehicle there. However, the sensor doesn't know if the vehicle was there, meaning is it on an illegal spot or not. Well, within Ginjer, you can create these device attributes which will allow the system to add that additional information on deciphering the data that gets transmitted. So I have an example for that in the parking sensor, which is a place pod from our partner P&I. And in the configuration section of the device attributes, we've added a device attribute called illegal spot. And what we do is we call this key in our output code, which is done in Java. These outputs are the different types of data that comes from a payload. In the different bytes, it will transmit certain values, and then you can decrypt those different bytes into Ginjer by creating these outputs. So for example, this sensor sends some bytes that represent the battery of the device, other bytes that represent the temperature of the device, and then the main purpose of this device, which what we call is an occupancy status. Inside each of these outputs, all you need to have is a little bit of knowledge on Java, and you'll be able to write code that will then decipher that payload, determine which bytes are actually being used for what values, and then from the device attribute section, if you've added one, you can reference that variable, which you see here, and it will then tell Ginjer that, okay, it was installed in an illegal location. Instead of putting the value occupied, put the value illegal parking for everyone to see. This value in the device attribute section actually is visible when you add a device that is of that P&I parking. So if I go here and I wanted to click add device, and I chose the device type of PlacePod, you would actually see an illegal spot field that automatically got created to the form, and by simply enabling or disabling the toggle allows Ginjer to know that it was installed in an illegal spot or not. And all of that logic actually came from the setup section of the device attributes, where it shows the label of the field is illegal spot. The variable that is referenced in the output code is this key, and the toggle is what type of function you saw in the add device form. You can also set it to other types of field representations like integer or text strings and that kind of thing. Within the outputs, once you've defined all of that, then the system on the uplink will be able to make sense of the payloads that are coming in. And these outputs are important because they get referenced in your solutions and also are used for filtering purposes throughout the project's reporting and analytic information. The controller tab for a device allows you to send a downlink interface which performs an action on the device. A good example would be if you have a streetlight controller and it supports downlink commands to remotely turn on or off a streetlight, then you can add a controller here which would then allow you to send a downlink either from Ginjer or from a third-party mobile app that you've developed via APIs. And that controller would be simply a downlink command that controls the behavior of the device on or off. The final section here on a device is a profile section, which is also another downlink interface. However, this is more of a firmware configuration downlink versus a action type of downlink. So a good example would be is if you have a temperature sensor that is transmitting every 15 minutes and you would like to change that transmission interval to 1 hour, then you could add a profile that you could then send on a downlink to the device to change its interval of communication from 15 minutes to an hour. So as you can see, the device configuration is quite powerful. To give you an example, when we first started development of our analytics platform in Ginjer, the initial release of Ginjer 1.0, we didn't have all this configurability from an administrative perspective. It was actually all hard-coded in the back end, and it required a lot of resources from our end and a lot of code to get these same functions to work. It would take us 2 months here or there, plus or minus a couple of days, to roll out a new project with new solution and devices. But now with Ginjer 2.0, by doing this configuration, you actually reduce it to 2 days or 3 days. So we're quickly enabling our own team to roll out projects, POCs, and we're starting to see our customers also being able to go to market much faster and be able to reduce the amount of coding time on their end by leveraging Ginjer so that they can really focus on their customers' needs instead of spending so much time on the development side of things. Once you have all of your devices configured the way you'd like, then you want to set up your solutions that will integrate those devices. We have several solutions that we've already created, such as UPark, UFind, CleanBin, UBeam. These are things that you can even find more information on our website. They're already pre-configured, and they have a little green check mark. And what they do is basically each of these solutions will pull the outputs from the devices that you've assigned to that solution and allow you to set up the conditions, the values, assign unique icons to those values, and the colors that you would like to display on the map inside the device cards of a project and for the analytics as well. So it's all configurable on your end. You can decide how you want to display this based on your business needs. And as you can see, some of this is already pre-configured. So if you were to, for example, buy a bin sensor from us, we have an app and a solution called CleanBin that's ready to go. And as an administrator, you really don't have to do any configuration. You simply just add your project, assign your users, add the devices, and you're good to go. But if you decide to manufacture your own devices or develop your own solutions or use your maybe similar solutions but different logic, you can do so by adding it here. So you'll see I've added 3 solutions that are not pre-configured by SenRa, and I did my own configuration based on devices that I wanted to assign. So here, for example, I created a cold storage solution. I linked it to a device which is a temperature sensor, and then I added the outputs and defined the logic for those outputs here. So it's pretty powerful and it all integrates really well. These solutions are also used at the project level for assigning clusters, being able to do filtering and reporting as well. The mobile application section, we have pre-configured apps that you can use. There's also the ability to add third-party apps. You simply add your mobile app. You assign what the outputs that your app is going to use. If you have any downlink interfaces, like the turning on or off a streetlight controller, you can link them here. Then once you've added the mobile app, it'll create a file, which is a JSON file that you can reference in your code to integrate Ginjer. So we do have documentation on how to do all of this. You can go to docs.ginjer.io and find a bunch of details on how to do all of the administrative setup under the system setup, user management, as well as license management. There's a couple more tabs here that I'll go through. The network section is one of the most important parts. In order to have Ginjer receive data, you've got to do the configuration of the network that you're going to use. We have a pre-configured network for our network, SenRa's network. All you've got to do is finish it by setting up the appropriate keys, or you can add your own private network or third-party network. The one with the green check mark is something we've pre-configured. Synet is a partner of ours in the US. I added that as my own account just to play around and see how it would work. Once you add your network, actually, before I go there, to add a new network, you'll need to define what type. We'll use LoRaWAN here. We will be supporting other network types in the future, Sigfox, NB-IoT, those kind of things. So if you're not a LoRaWAN person, it's okay. Ginjer can work without that specific protocol. Once you fill out the information, then you'll need to define your uplink and downlink mappings. And every vendor that provides a network has their own methodologies of doing so. In ours, you'll see the configuration look like this: uplink mapping, downlink mapping. And if you wanted to use our network, you can actually go to portal.senraco.io. You can set up a free account here as well. And I have an account, so I will log in and show you. Once you've set up your account with our network portal, you can then add your devices. And what you'll do is you'll have to click on Configure in Ginjer. It'll generate a key, a Ginjer key. And when you route the data of a device from our portal, for example, you'll go to the device's notification target. There's an option to forward data to Ginjer. Then you would put that Ginjer key in the authorization key section. And enable the status. You can include RF data, and then the data will start streaming downward to the platform. However, you also need to tell the platform a little bit of information on the network. So under your account, there is a developer API key that we provide. You just click on this and it will generate the key. That key gets put into the network keys field. And so once you do that, it will then sync up Ginjer to the network and so forth. And things will start communicating at that point. If you're using someone else's network, you'll need to reach out to that vendor and ask them how to generate that network key, application key, so that you can put it into Ginjer. Also, finally, there's a label section. These labels get referenced in different parts of the system. Downlink interface labels are basically list of values to fields that you would be able to call when you're adding device downlink interfaces in the device configuration section. If you have devices that you're creating that are unique manufacturers that are not listed in our pre-configured list, you can add them here. If you want to create output labels that are not available in our pre-configured list, for example, I put an alarm here. You can set those labels and then choose it as you're adding your outputs to the device. And then we also have tags, which can allow you to do some filtering. You'll see like a tag, for example, in the mobile app section. We have a tag called under development. So if you have like a solution vertical that you don't see as an available option, like electricity metering, you can add a label called electricity metering. And then when you add your devices or solutions, you can pull that tag for filtering and organizational purposes. So this is pretty powerful, as I've mentioned before. There will be a lot more features that will continue to be added in the upcoming releases. But basically, once you're finished doing all of your setup, then you want to assign your users, and you can get started right away. User licensing, every free account comes with 1 user license and 5 device limits. So anyone can do some R&D and play around with it. There's no expiration on that license. If you need a license that has the need for more users or more devices, please contact us at info@senraco.com or support@senraco.com, and we will get you guys what you need to successfully use Ginjer the way it's meant to be used. So I hope you enjoyed this video of the administrative section. Again, if you want any more information, you can go to docs.ginjer.io. You can also contact us at support@senraco.com, and we'll respond as quickly as we can. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this video.